help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. God is our refuge and our strength, a present help in times of trouble. And the psalmist reminds us that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Beloved, we gather today in God's presence to remember, to celebrate, and to give thanks for the life of Leah Miriam Stavenhagen. We gather to affirm God's love for us, and we gather to affirm our love for one another. And so let us acknowledge our grief and be open in our love, affirming the meaning and mystery of life, hopeful in love in this world and love in the world to come. Let us pray. Most merciful God, the consolation of the sorrowful and the support of the weary, look down in tender love and mercy, we pray, on these your children whose joy is turned into mourning. According to the multitude of your mercies, uphold, strengthen, and comfort them, that they may not faint under the circumstances, but find strength and a refuge in you. Today, as we gather, O Lord, in the embrace of your love and in the embrace of one another, may we be lifted out of darkness and distress and into the light and peace of your everlasting presence. Amen. At this time, I'll invite forward Leah's sisters, Melissa and Emma, to share some words of remembrance.
For those who may not know us, we are Leah's younger sisters. 3 and 6 years behind her, we had the privilege of growing up with Leah in a true front row seat to her life. We watched her go from the older sister who always seemed to know more than us and made sure we knew it, to someone who became one of our closest friends, our fiercest protector, and the person we looked up to most. Slowly, we are learning to hold this immense loss. Leah was rarely the loudest person in a room, but she didn't need to be. There was just something about her. She was always one step ahead in the way she thought, and the way she looked, and the way she carried herself. You always got the sense that Leah had already figured out how things were going to go. Everything felt deliberate. Everything was intentional. Over the past few months, we have been so moved by the stories we've heard from family, friends, the ALS community, and people whose lives she touched in ways we are still learning about. She truly has left a lasting impact around the world, and not many people can say that about their sister. Today, we want to share with you the Leah we knew and the impact she had on us. Leah had her own particular way of showing love, and if you knew her, you know it wasn't always soft. In fact, Leah introduced us to the idea of tough love, the kind of love where she'd tell you your idea was great, or tell you very plainly it wasn't. The kind where your clothes were also her clothes. There were no boundaries, even in your own room, and most importantly, no ask was too big. And she didn't take no for an answer when she thought you were capable of more. Looking back, that's what it was, underneath all of it. She just believed in us, sometimes more than we believed in ourselves. There's one memory I keep coming back to. When I was picking my courses for the IB program, Leah, who was halfway through the program herself, somehow convinced me I needed to take higher level physics. Though I didn't know what I wanted to do at that time, STEM was never the path for me. But she was confident and persuasive, along with the fact she herself was in higher level maths, arguably a harder class. She mentioned that there would be field trips, and I was in. Shortly before I started, the teacher changed and the trips were canceled. And I was stuck struggling through 2 years of schooling that I can confidently say I have never used since. But that's Leah. She had this ability to make you feel like you could do something, even when the evidence wasn't necessarily there.
Leah's instinct to look out for people extended well beyond the two of us.
Perhaps nowhere was this more true than with our parents, where she spent years as our first line of defense. She taught us how to stand up for ourselves, how to ask for what we wanted, and occasionally how to make a compelling case for things we probably didn't deserve. She always knew what to say, and she always knew when to say it. But as her younger sisters, we were lucky enough to see something that not everyone got to see. Behind that confidence, behind the plans and the opinions and the unstoppable forward motion, was someone profoundly tender. She looked out for us in ways we didn't always recognize until much later. Even when she was facing things that would have broken most people, she protected us from the weight of it. She would come back from the hardest moments with a joke, a plan, or simply the energy to keep going. Her resilience wasn't loud, but it was constant. Leah was also a person of extraordinary ideas. She didn't wait for things to come together on their own. By the time the rest of us sat down, she had already drafted the plans. Some of the conversations I will miss most are the ones that started as ordinary and became something else entirely. Brainstorming our mom's 60th birthday, debating what to make for a Tuesday night dinner, turning small moments into something worth looking forward to. She had that gift. She made life feel special. I remember one morning working from home, I came downstairs begrudgingly, anticipating a long day of work ahead. Leah, who was already up and dressed, was sitting outside in the sun eating breakfast and looked at me to say, "Isn't this fabulous?" Sounds like a small thing, but it says everything about how she moved through the world. She didn't wait for extraordinary occasions to find joy. She brought it with her. Leah is no longer here with us in the way we want her to be, but she is not gone from our lives. She's there when I lie awake at night, carefully planning tomorrow's outfit the way she would have. She is there every Christmas in the painstakingly complicated, completely worth it pull-apart bread. She is there in how we approach a hard moment, how we celebrate the people we love, how we try to show up the way that she showed up for us. That is the gift that she left behind, not just the memories of who she was, but the way she changed who we are. We love her endlessly and miss her more than we can say. We will carry her with us in every plan, every order.
In every plan, every ordinary morning made fabulous. In every moment, we refuse to let ourselves settle.
I'll invite up Leah's husband, Hugo, to share some words of remembrance.
My princess Leah. We had a sort of plan between us. We knew this trip to Egypt would probably be the last one. We thought we would enjoy it to the very end and return to Paris and continue sharing this moment of happiness together. This morning, when I would come wake you up with sparkling lights, the daily New York Times crosswords, or weekend walks, and the countless TV series we were watching together. I hope you don't blame me, but I finished Euphoria, Tell Me Lies, Industry, and Shrinking. And for those who don't know Shrinking, I can sadly relate to Shrinking a lot now because, Google it if you don't know. Anyway, and so many other moments that I won't even try to list because there are simply too many. Many people told me that perhaps you left at the right time, but I disagree. Every extra day by your side was a celebration, and I would give anything to relive those moments of happiness together. I do have to admit, though, that passing away beside a beach in a resort with an exceptional view that is very much like you, Leah. Talking about TV show, this is actually very White Lotus-y. Not to mention all the logistical complications that came with it. You who sometimes like to make things a little more complicated than they needed to be. I wish so deeply that I could have said goodbye to you, and above all, that I could have thanked you for everything you brought into my life. Thank you because our love went far beyond the trip, the brunches, and the nights out. More than anything, you were my rock, my role model. Everyone close to us and everyone who has read your book already know our story, so I won't start again from the beginning, but I would like to share one particular and special moment. On our very first romantic date, we quickly discovered a rather unexpected thing we had in common, our fear of having to return to the University of Michigan. Go. As for me, I was completely out of place there, and Leah had practically escaped it for a year to come and live in Paris. So we decided to face this challenge together, and at that time it wasn't easy. When I met Leah, I was a 22-year-old young man, rather immature and somewhat lost. 12 years later, I have become someone far from perfect, but someone I can be proud of. And without you, Leah, I would never have made it. So you helped me face the cold of Michigan. After that, while I was determined to return to France, you wanted to move to New York, so I followed you and I spent one of the best years of my life there. A little later, I decided to go back to school and attend HEC in Paris. I followed suit and enrolled at ESSEC. Once again, it is a decision I'm very far from regretting. Finally, more recently, after years of encouraging me to run, I finally took your advice and I became a marathon runner, much to my own happiness. The truth is, as you like to remind me from time to time, you knew me better than I knew myself. You illuminated my life, you set me on the right path, and you gave me a purpose. I will say I probably have around 50 years left on this planet. That's going to be a very long time without you. These past 3 months have already been a roller coaster of emotion, and I miss you so deeply every day. I recently bought a couch for a balcony. You are probably very critical of the couch I picked. I'm sorry. And every night, I spend an hour listening to your favorite music and looking at the sky and thinking of you. Anyway, I will keep living. I will try to be happy because I know that's what you wanted. But know this, I will never forget you. You are my princess and you will always be, and I love you.
And I invite up Elizabeth, Leah's aunt, to speak next.
Susan called with the news that their daughter had been born and that her name would be Leah Miriam. I told her that I thought the name was inspired, that it was perfect. And Leah proved over and over in her short life that she was both inspired and inspirational, packing her 33 years with intense and vivid and challenging living. And now it is for her adoring grandmothers, her aunts, uncles, 16 cousins, friends, and colleagues to continue living in her spirit with joy and remembrance, supporting Hugo, Susan, Jeff, Melissa, and Emma, so that she, intrepid and inspired, will be forever cherished and loved. And I offer you a poem by Henry Scott Holland. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away to the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same that it ever was. There's absolutely unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere, very near, just around the corner. All is well.
Can everyone hear me? Thank God you're up here with me. Desi's late. That's all right. She'll be here shortly. But so I ditched my speech right before this. Self-sabotage is real. But no, hi, I'm Gwen Peterson. I have ALS, and I was lucky to meet my dear friend Leah in 2020, right before she launched her ALS story. And let me tell you, I have been agonizing over these words because if roles were reversed and Leah was up here for me, she would know exactly what to say. She would even make some stuff up to give me a good send-off. She really would. She was that kind of friend, and of course I'm sad. I'm sad every day. I'm devastated for whoever said time heals all wounds was not talking about grief. Grief is totally exempt from that. But in typical Leah fashion, I know she would be so grateful for all of us coming together today for her, coming together today for each other. And so I just want to take a moment to look around and say thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who showed up and who continues to show up for Leah and for her family. And I want to say a huge thank you to my friends, Leah's friends who showed up today. Our dear friend Katie came from Cape Cod. Lauren came from Philly. You know, just the unwavering support for Leah and for the ALS community, for our friends, is real. And so I know Leah would recognize that support, and she would want to just thank you all and embrace you. So let me be her mouthpiece. And lastly, I just want to say our dear friend Erin Vierstra, 3 years ago today exactly, Erin passed away from ALS. So I know Leah would want to honor our dear friend Erin. So with that being said, I'm gonna hand it over to our dear friend Alex.
Hello everyone, I'm Alex. I know my friends are going to speak about Leah on a more personal note, but before I talk about her ALS story, I just want to say that Leah gave me friendship, purpose, and understanding. I think everyone knows the impact she had on the world, but her impact on me is profound. I face her legacy every day, and I am forever grateful. When we lost Leah, her ALS story came to a stop. That following month showed what Leah meant to the ALS world. We canceled all speakers for the month and focused on community. The leadership team put our feelings to the side to be sure we continued Leah's legacy. We shifted our focus to really work on our international reach because we knew how important that was to her. Her ALS story and its members are her echo, and she will continue to live on through us. Leah is a symbol of the idea that ALS doesn't define you. In her ALS story, I would often forget we all have ALS because of the tone Leah set. We love her and hope we make her proud. Thank you to her family and Hugo for supporting her ALS story through and through. We will forever be in your debt for helping Leah create an organization that has given a lot of us purpose and community. Cheers to Leah and the amazing life she has lived.
forward Jess and Amy to share their eulogy, and they will be followed by Jeff, Leah's father, who will share the final eulogy today.
My name is Jess. Many people in this room knew Leah as an ALS advocate. Others knew her as a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter. I knew her as my friend, and today I have the great honor of speaking to that. I met Leah sophomore year of high school, and though we only had 1 year together in the same school, I can now say that it was a blessing. From trips to Copenhagen, Paris, East Village, Baltimore, Rehoboth, and the south of France, I am lucky enough to have memories with Leah sprinkled all over the world. We had phone calls that lasted hours, and she was always there when it really mattered. Across all of those miles and all of those years, it never once felt like a long-distance friendship. There was my first of many trips to Paris. Rachel and I visited Leah when she was living there, and because of her, I fell in love with the city right away. The first night we were there, it was the summer solstice, and there was music all over the city. It was almost too magical to put into words. The city was alive, and the music and the dancing lasted late into the night. I didn't just see Paris, I got to see the Leah version of it, and there is no better way to see a city. And it wasn't just abroad where she worked her magic. On Mother's Day, Leah took me, my mom, and Hugo all over New York City. A rooftop bar, a walk through Central Park, and ending the night at our favorite Indian restaurant, which is decorated entirely from the dollar store and is perfectly tacky. What I remember most about that day is how it felt both leisurely and like an adventure at the same time. That was her gift. She could make an ordinary day feel like something you could talk about for years to come, and we still do. Leah was authentically herself, stubborn, full of life, and deeply loyal to the people she loved. She took on the hardest challenge of her life with grace, grit, and determination. I can still hardly comprehend how she did it, but that was Leah. People often say they hope those who have passed find peace, but I don't hope that for Leah. I hope she is dancing to Parisian rap, swimming in the ocean, and walking miles through the streets of Paris or New York. Because for as long as I knew her, before ALS took away her ability to move freely, she was always in motion. These last few months have been especially difficult, and I've really needed her. I really miss her, and I'm not sure when I'll stop reaching for the phone to call her. Maybe I never will. Some friendships don't have an ending, they just change shape. She's already sent me signs that she's still there, and that gives me a little comfort. To Hugo, some of my favorite memories with Leah also include you. Your ability to bring humor to an impossible situation and your strength have always amazed me. The way you showed up for her every single day with love and lightness, that is not something any of us will forget. She was lucky to have you, and so are we. And to her family, I want you to know that the Leah you knew and loved showed up fully in her friendships too. The woman you raised, full of loyalty, warmth, and spirit, you gave her all of that, and she shared it generously with everyone lucky enough to be in her orbit. I know I don't need to tell you who she was. You knew her better than anyone, but I hope it brings some comfort to know that the person you loved was just as extraordinary to those of us lucky enough to call her a friend. She taught me that there's never enough time, so you make the moments count, not just the big ones, the trips abroad, but the quiet ones too. The long phone calls, the walks that go nowhere in particular, the meals that last longer than they need to. Those were the moments she lived for, and because of her, they are the ones I will never take for granted. And I think that is the greatest gift a friend can give you, not just the memories themselves, but the way they change how you move through the world long after they're gone. Because of Leah, I will always say yes to the trip, the adventure, and the moments that matter. She taught me that a life well lived is one full of those moments, and I plan to fill mine with them.
Okay, hello. I was also planning on reading the poem that you so beautifully read. So, I'm not going to read it again, but insert poem there. Okay. Um, One of my favorite memories of Leah was spending Christmas with you guys. It was, I think, 2019, back when we were doing, or she was figuring out diagnosis and everything. We were doing a puzzle together, and at one point I asked, okay, where's the box? I need to look at the picture. And she was like, that's cheating. And I was like, oh. And apparently she did 1,000+ piece puzzles without looking at the box. And I remember thinking, why would anyone make this harder than it has to be? But I've thought about that moment a lot since then. Most of us want the picture on the box. We want to know where we're headed, how everything turns out, and how all the pieces fit together before we begin. We want certainty and we want instructions. Leah taught me that sometimes you don't get the picture. Sometimes all you have is what is right in front of you. And you keep going anyway. You trust the people beside you. You laugh when it doesn't make sense. And you let yourself be surprised by what unfolds. Leah lived like that. She met life as it came, with courage, humor, resilience, and heart. Maybe the gift she leaves us is this. We don't need to have all the answers to live a beautiful life. We just have to stay present, keep choosing one another, and trust that meaning can emerge even when we can't see the whole picture. Thank you, Leah, for reminding us that some of the most beautiful parts of life aren't found by following the picture on the box, but by discovering them together.
I can see a lot of hands moving, so I'll try to make this quick. Thank you all for coming today, for being here with our family. I've been imagining what Leah would have to say about all this today. I know without a doubt she would be incredibly happy to see so many of you had made the effort to be here and spend time together in her honor. But I'm not so sure she would have liked to be the sole focus for the reason for the gathering. Leah preferred to share the stage, but when she showed up, you knew she showed up with purpose and intention. The last time I shared the stage with Leah, I was introducing her as one of the keynote speakers at the grand opening of Lilly Gateway Labs in San Francisco. The large audience included the CEO and CSO of Eli Lilly and assorted other luminaries from the San Francisco biotech community. These labs are the flagship for a collaboration between Lilly and startup biotechs all over the globe. It was a great opportunity for Lilly to showcase their mission, and what an incredible opportunity for Leah. Leah wasn't just there because she was living with ALS. She was there because she could articulate what so many patients could not. She gave a human face to the urgency behind the science and reminded everyone in the room exactly who they were working for. This was an exciting moment. Lilly had a film crew come to our house for a day, which resulted in a powerful video that Lilly premiered at the grand opening and later showcased on their website. She and I were going to share the stage after the premiere. Leah, being Leah, made sure every detail was exactly as it should be. She didn't want any surprises, especially from me. She thoughtfully wrote out her remarks, short, eloquent, but to the point, and she always had a clear message to take home. And then she wrote my lines too. Leah was very clear about what I was supposed to say, and she made it understood that what I was not supposed to say. She made sure I knew my role. Her expectations were very clear: no improvising. Trust me, I kept to the script. Leah isn't here to write the script for me today, but I'll do my best. But today I'm once again sharing the stage with Leah as a proud father. Only this time Leah didn't leave me a script. She didn't choose the words or tell me exactly how she wanted this day to unfold. She didn't leave instructions for what stories to tell or what messages she wanted me to share. Honestly, it feels pretty unsettling. So today, without her guidance, I can only hope to do justice to the extraordinary person she was. I hope to share a glimpse of her life, her spirit, and the purpose with which she lived. Most of all, I hope to honor the impact she made in the time she was here, and the legacy she leaves behind in all of us. If I'm honest, I really wish she had written the script for me. There were different versions of Leah depending on when she walked into your life. Maybe you met her in her primary years or while living in Europe or during her college or travel adventures, or many of you have met her after her diagnosis. I want to tell you about Leah before she was diagnosed, what shaped her into the person she became, the failures, awkward teenage years, struggle with decisions. She was far from perfect. It was those experiences and how she learned from them that allowed her to be the beautiful version we came to know. Leah's first 2 years were challenging. She worked very hard at training Susan and me for our life with her. I don't think we won a single argument. Even as a precocious 2-year-old, her character and keen sense of fashion were beginning to emerge, with her determination to make sure her favorite blue turtleneck was always available for her to wear. It was fashionable because it paired well with everything. Quintessential Leah. I recall her attempt to apply lipstick correctly. She enthusiastically applied it well beyond her lips. I can still picture her determined face, covered in lipstick, and her strong little body almost daring the world to defy her dreams, wants, and desires. That determination never left. Leah was almost 3 when Melissa was born. She loved her sister from day one, and they spent a lot of time together. This, of course, changed once Leah started primary school and found her friend group. Leah had almost turned 9 when Emma was born. Almost immediately, Leah's maternal instinct kicked in. Something else emerged, her nurturing spirit. Perhaps she remembered the mistakes Susan and I made when she was a baby, or maybe she just thought we weren't paying enough attention. Either way, she decided she was going to be there for Emma. Leah would have been an amazing mom. Her preteen years were typical. We moved to Olney, Maryland, staying there for almost 9 years, still the longest place we ever lived together as a family. By then, Leah's love of fashion was in full bloom. Designer labels mattered, social groups mattered, being cool definitely mattered. Leah dropped the saxophone not because she wasn't good, but because she realized she'd have to be in marching band, wearing those uniforms. Social suicide in her teen mind. Instead, Leah poured her energy into swimming and dance. She was steadfast in her pursuit to be the best. She realized her talents and athleticism was willing to put in the hard work to reach her goals in these activities. She swam competitively in the Summer Swim League and in high school, but her true love was synchronized swimming. It's a wonderful combination of athleticism, gorgeous costumes that Leah loved, and music and the competition. This became family time, all 3 girls on the same team, Potomac Valley Pearls. Susan was one of their coaches, as this was her sport all the way through college. They headed to the pool multiple times a week for practice. Gave Leah an outlet for her creativity, and importantly, built lifelong friendships. She stayed with the sport through her time in Copenhagen up until her freshman year at university, when she competed at the U.S. national meet. Another love began taking shape during those years, France. She listened to Susan tell stories from her 20s when she lived and worked in Paris as an au pair for quadruplets. Leah had a French au pair the summer she turned 2, Laure, one of the quadruplets Susan had cared for 15 years earlier. Leah heard the stories from Susan and my adventures in Paris when we lived together for almost a year before we were married. The first time Leah traveled to France was when she went with her high school sophomore class from an early age. France had become part of her life. The family moved to Copenhagen when Leah was 16. All 3 girls became very close, and that closeness really helped them during those first months living abroad. Leah was extremely unhappy and did not want to leave her friends in Olney. We were evil parents, ripping her away from her perfect American teenage life. It took her about 6 months to forgive us, but after she and her sisters had settled into their new schools, new friends, and more European lifestyle, she was happy again. Well, almost, except for the fact that she had to go to International Baccalaureate to finish high school. She was always a good student, but she wasn't fully prepared for IB maths. Leah took higher level math, Started with a class of 8 students. By graduation 2 years later, only Leah and one other student remained in the class. The other student would go on to study maths as a career, starting at Cambridge. Leah refused to drop to lower level with the other 6 students. Again, she was determined to see it through to the end, despite having to complete many math proofs. These were complex, requiring many hours of work. She would scream out in frustration, slam her fists against the floor. It affected all of us living in that apartment. After all, if she had to endure this, so did we. In the end, Leah crushed it, getting an almost perfect final grade. Needless to say, she never took maths again. The lesson was that once Leah committed herself to something, she was almost impossible to stop. It also gave her confidence in her ability as a student, as a problem solver. She knew if she applied herself, she could accomplish anything. Leah attended the University of Michigan. One major wasn't enough. She chose 3: French, comparative literature, and political science. After IB, Leah claimed the triple major at University of Michigan was relatively easy. It was there she met Hugo. She spent junior year abroad in Paris. By the time she finished university, she spoke French fluently. I believe it was during this year that Leah made the decision to become French. Not the easy way. She was going to do it on her own, earn it through hard work, determination, complete independence, and perseverance. After college, Leah spent time in New York with Hugo in separate apartments. Leah lived in Alphabet City, 2 blocks from where her great-grandmother, my mom's mom, lived after she arrived in New York from Eastern Europe in 1907. After 1 year in the city, Leah moved to Paris with Hugo. She worked for a year, but then went back to school. She received her master's in business from HEC, the top business school in France, and secured a full-time job with EY Consulting, a rebranding of Ernst & Young, in Paris, where she began her career as a consultant to other businesses. Looking back, it felt as though Leah was writing exactly the script she wanted. She had found love. She had built a life abroad. She was thriving professionally. The future seemed full of possibility. Without warning, the script changed. Leah started to show symptoms. It was gradual at first, and she did her best to keep the circle of people who knew very small. She wanted to understand it before inviting others in. Fortunately, the shared adventure of the 5 of us moving overseas bonded us, so the family was very close, and Hugo became even closer. ALS is a diagnosis of exclusion, so with each test for other diseases coming back negative, we were left with ALS. We were all devastated. Once the diagnosis was made, we didn't know what to expect. How long could she continue to live and work in Paris? Could we get her into a clinical trial? How long until she died? For me as her father, a career drug developer, I thought for sure there must be something I could do to help her. There had to be something. But honestly, after exploring all options, I felt helpless. Every expert I spoke with just lowered their head and said, sorry. For Leah, it was 100 times worse. New symptoms popping up all the time. Wondering what she did in her life that brought this on. No one had any answers for her. She was trapped in a horrible maze with the knowledge that there was no way out. She could easily have gone into a downward spiral. But that is not how Leah wanted to write the next chapter of her life. Leah knew nothing about ALS. At Columbia, Dr. Neil Schneider let her know about other young women that had also been diagnosed. It was perfect timing. Leah knew that in order for her to navigate ALS, she needed friends that she could relate to. All through her life, Leah had a remarkable gift of finding the right people to surround her and share her life with. Whether it was her cherished friend group from Albany, Maryland, that stuck with her until the end. The small group of girls that helped her find a way in CPH in Copenhagen. Henriette, her duet partner in synchronized swimming, who was like a true big sister. Leah surrounded herself with people that loved her. Leah couldn't control the diagnosis, but she can control what she did with it. That is what her ALS story became. What started as Leah's determination to find purpose in the face of an impossible diagnosis became something far greater. She didn't just create a platform, she created a community. She brought together young women from around the world who were facing the same fears, challenges, and uncertainties. Women who understood one another in ways few others could. These girls become the best friends they wish they never needed. and that was Leah's gift. She had an extraordinary ability to bring people together, to make people feel seen, to create connections where there had once been isolation. Through her ALS story, she showed others that even when life doesn't unfold according to plan, it's still possible to find meaning, friendship, love, and purpose. For that alone, she deserves far more recognition than she would ever ask for. Her passing was unexpected. Even knowing the diagnosis, we somehow believed there'd be more time, more trips, more plans, more conversations, more pages left in the story. That was another unwritten and unexpected part of the story. But Leah made sure that before she left, she gave us everything. But before she left, she gave us everything she could. Her love, her example, her courage, and a roadmap for how to keep living long after she was gone. Leah may not have left me a script for today, but perhaps she had already wrote it with the way she lived her life. Leah's life was filled with purpose, adventure, accomplishment, and love. Leah taught us how to live life no matter what the universe has in store for you. She showed us that no matter what challenges life places before us, we should never stop living. Travel somewhere unexpected. Wear what makes you feel beautiful and authentically you. Eat the foods you love. Be present for today because today is a gift. Don't let fear, doubt, or circumstances kill the vibe. And above all, hold on to the spirit that makes you uniquely you. Protect it, celebrate it, and never stop fighting for the life you want to live. She certainly never did. I love you, sweetheart.
Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Asked Mary Oliver. This comes shortly after another question she posed in the same poem. Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Mary Oliver has devoted her wild and precious life to paying attention. Paying attention to details and then describing the details of her world to us in intricate poetry. Paying attention to the simplicity of the beauty around us. Paying attention to the mystery of beauty in one another. Oliver planted herself in a place, a particular geography, in which she noticed the world around her, received it, and responded with wonder and gratitude. Part of Oliver's aesthetic comes from this grounding in a particular place. Her writing may be the same if she traveled frequently around the world, but to me, what makes her poetry so unique and so special is the geography of it. She lets you in on her world, and you feel like you are there with her, walking along the beach with her and her dog. In this way, Oliver has limited the scope of her attention, and she makes no attempt at writing about everything in all places and in all times. Instead, she writes attentively about this thing in this place. There's almost something quaint about it. Living in one place and paying attention to the same details over and over and over again. Wouldn't that be limiting? Wouldn't that be constraining? What about all the other experiences she might be missing out on? We're told by society at large that life can be limitless, that we can be free from the boundaries that have kept us in one place. We are encouraged to expand our horizons and travel the globe. We are told to live free from constraints and expectations of others. We are told that we are the controllers of our destiny, that we are autonomous and independent actors. But oh, if that were only the life that we got to live. We are human, after all. We age, our bodies break down, our egos are fragile, and our spirits are vulnerable. One day it feels like we could do anything and go anywhere and be whatever we wanted to be, and the next day life greets us. We are contingent beings. We are contingent upon the circumstances that life gives us, which are completely outside of our control. We cannot escape our circumstances. We may fight them, we may deny them, we might plead with them. But when the circumstances of life do not change, we are left with a choice of what we will do with our one wild and precious life. I served as a pastor for 15 years and met thousands of people, a wide diversity of the human spectrum who've experienced a wide variety of circumstances of human life. And as I reflect on all the people I've crossed paths with during this time, the happiest and most content people, those whom I would say have lived a good life, are those who have lived within the circumstances given to them. It doesn't mean that they were always happy about those circumstances. And it doesn't mean that the circumstances were fair. Usually they were not. But these individuals had come to terms with life under the circumstances, life with certain boundaries, life rooted in a particular place. And maybe that's the wisdom of Mary Oliver for us, to live wide-eyed with wonder and open-armed love and open-hearted gratitude within the circumstances of life. I'll admit I never got the opportunity to meet Leah, but I wish I had. She lived a wild and precious life within the circumstances of her life. The stories I've read about her, the community that she and so many of you have created, the joy in the midst of trial, the laughter in the midst of disappointment, the perseverance in the midst of pain. These may not be the circumstances that any of you would have chosen, yet you have chosen life. To keep living and to keep loving, to keep hoping and to keep enduring. Friends, this is the good life. It's not about achievements or wealth or power or the length of our days. It's about living the life that you have been given and living that life to its full. Sharing that life with others. Grieving with those who grieve and laughing with those who laugh. Bearing all things, hoping all things, believing all things, because love never ends. There is a time for everything, wrote an ancient philosopher, a time for every matter under the sun. There is always a time for love in each of these circumstances. This is what we can all do with our one wild and precious life, to embrace the life that we have been given with the love that has embraced each one of us. Beloved, on behalf of the family, I would like to thank all of you for being here on this rather warm day and for taking part in the celebration of Leah's life. The family would also like to thank everyone who attended Leah's funeral in February, who were there in Paris to celebrate Leah's life in the city that Leah and Hugo called home, and who were at the small memorial service in Windham, New York, before Melissa and Andy's wedding. The family would like to thank everyone for sharing in all these memorials honoring Leah's life, and those joining us online as well today. Beloved, at the conclusion of the service, the family invites you to stay for a reception out on the back lawn. There are restrooms. You'll see signs on your way down located within the John Knox building, and the food will be served out on the back lawn. And we invite you to share in this one wild and precious life together, and to continue to share stories of Leah's impact and Leah's joy. And now, beloved, receive this blessing and benediction. May God go before you to guide you. May God go behind you to protect you. May God go beside you to befriend you, and may God go beneath you to support you. May the love of God, all merciful, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, embrace you today and hold you forever.